Hi, good morning. Welcome, Doreen. I'm delighted.
Thank you. Delighted to be here.
Yes, then delighted to have you here. And before we get started, Doreen herself has spent I don't know how many years in the.
I know I look really young, but 20 plus years doing this.
Wow, wow. So I'm sure all of us would benefit a lot from some of the insights, Doreen. And before we get started, right, there are a lot of terms that are out there. UX, user interface, right? Customer experience, customer service, and user-centric design. Can you help clear out things a bit? What really do we mean when we talk about customer experience?
Customer experience is really providing a product or a service that a customer wants or can use. So oftentimes we get so caught up in the technology, we forget that there's somebody at the other end that has to use it. And so the customer experience is really understanding your user at a very deep level and understanding what will work and what won't work for them.
Yeah, thank you. And when you look at, let me roll back to something that happened at home 3 days ago. Right. My father walks up to me and says, son, Sumit, this is an old phone of mine. I would like to reactivate this phone. Can we go to, I'll not name the telecom provider, but can we go to their store and get this reactivated? And I said, Dad, you know what? You don't need to go anywhere, right? Let's just open up the PC or maybe even on my phone, 5 minutes and I'll get it done. And boom, 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 we fill in a few forms. And then it says, to activate your phone, we have SMS'd a one-time password. And guess what number that password was sent out to? To the phone that I was trying to activate. And it was just so broken, and I looked at my father sheepishly, and he said, so shall you pick up the car keys? I said, Dad, no, yes. So why is it so hard? If it's what we want, why is it so hard for corporations to get it right?
Well, I think we got enamored with technology, and we fell in love with what it can do as opposed to who can use it. So in that case, if you think about it, from a technology standpoint, it all worked, except there was no way for the user to open the phone and get it because the phone was not working. But in our everyday lives, I ask all of you to take a moment and think of your everyday life. We live with dysfunction every single day. Every single day, there's a whole bunch of things that don't work right. And we just, as humans, begin to adapt. And then one day, some company, some provider, somebody comes up with a better idea, and everybody adapts, and everybody goes, oh my God, it's a breakthrough. No, it's really looking at the user, understanding the customer, and then developing a product or a service that makes sense. Here's the hardest thing is not every great technology should ever be a product. That's really hard. And I've seen so many companies who become so enamored with the technology that really people don't care or don't want to use it. I always say this in this, we're looking at this whole Internet of Things, which I'm a very big part of, but are you really going to turn your lights on and off when you walk into your house from your smartphone? Are you really going to do that? You'll try it ever so often, but guess what? You're going to want to switch because it's dark. There's just some basics here that begin to make sense.
Okay. But so why is it mattering so much now? Why now? Why does it matter? Why is it so important now that we have to sit and have a fireside chat around the topic? What brings it to the forefront?
First, I just want to say one thing is, I was just smiling yesterday as I sat through the conference because I finally felt like everybody was talking a language that I understood. So I just want to say that's wonderful. I think that's really terrific. But here's the real reason. Today, customers have a voice. So the whole premise of making a product was something like this. R&D, unlike Park, would come up with a great idea. Every so often, a product manager would walk in there and say, ooh, we could make a product out of this. And they would, and then they'd push that product out. And they'd advertise it, and they'd market it, and they'd brand it, and they tell the customer what they need. Now, they never bother really listening or hearing back from the customer. They do a couple of focus groups, and that's how products were made. Then the rise of social media happened. And customers now had a voice. And they were going to tell you things, and they were going to write reviews, and they were ever present. And all of a sudden, people started really becoming the masters of their own destinies, and businesses started seeing that customers would shift. I always use this, I was just talking to you, I always use this line. How many of you would buy a product on Amazon at less than 4 stars every day? How many of you? Okay, there's one person, there's always one or two, but we are driven now by the power and the voice of the customer. And so businesses now have had to wake up and say, uh-oh, it's not about the technology.
So long days away from the experience you had in Detroit with you.
Oh, yes. Many, many years ago, I went to one of the big 3 automakers, and we were working on a project there, and one of the executives took me into a room, and it was something out of a movie. It was this large, cavernous, big warehouse, and it had filing cabinets, just rows and rows and rows of filing cabinets. I'm like, okay, this is weird. And I said, so what is this? And he said, these are letters from our customers. I said, what do you do with it? He said, nothing. Every year we redesign the headlight. We never read these letters. They saved them, but they didn't read them. Well, obviously, things have changed.
See, the other thing that's happening is there's a generational shift in computing, right? So from the very structured days of punched cards, and then moving on to the PC era and faster computing and everything, computing has still been very structured, right? We have walked up to machines to interact with them. And now we are getting into a generation where the machines are all around us, right? We are wearing them, we are talking to them, they are looking at us, and so on and so forth. So how does the gap start to get bridged where the technologists or the programmers now need to start thinking a bit more abstract? It's no longer very well-defined, structured way of writing code.
Yeah, there's a big change going on. So temporarily today we have, a role I would call a design technologist, someone who understands design, who understands technology, and could help bridge that gap. But as the next generation moves forward, I recently started a program at the University of Texas called the Center for Integrated Design, and what it does is exactly this. You get a degree